This video is for entertainment purposes only.
Okay, B, TV, let's go.
And you can go ahead and just start.
Okay, my great aunt relayed this story to me. It was in the late 80s, and my mom and I had gone to visit her to check on her and see how she was doing. She was sitting outside on her front porch, so we were talking, and she always kept her rifle, her double-barrel shotgun, right next to her in her rocking chair. My mother was joking with her about the gun, and she said, yeah, I always keep my gun with me because something happened way back long time ago. And she said, I'm gonna tell y'all this story. And she said, it's God, as she called him, is my witness. I swear for God I'm not lying. So she said it was back in the 50s. She said one night she and her husband was in the house, and he was asleep because they were farmers. And she said the dog started barking, the pigs started doing what they do, oinking, and the cows started mooing. And she said the animals just went crazy on their farm, and they had a lot of animals, not just cows and pigs. They had ducks, they had everything. And so she said that they were just screaming like something was going on. She said she tried to get her husband to go outside and see, and he told her, oh, it's nothing, just leave it alone, just go to bed. So she said, no, something going on, the animal's going crazy. So she grabbed her shotgun and she went out to the porch. And she said she didn't see nothing immediately, but then she looked down toward the barn, and where there was a big pond on the side of the barn. And she said she saw a frog man, is what she described him, coming up from the side of the barn. And she said it was walking toward her, and she said it wasn't that tall. She stood about maybe 5'4", so she said it was a little bit taller than her. But she said he had webbed hands, and she said he was walking straight to her, and she yelled for it to stop, and she said it kept walking. So she said she stepped off her porch, and she took her double-barrel shotgun and she shot it dead.
And to interject for a second, she described that the blood of the reptilian was green.
So then her husband heard the shotgun go off. He came outside. Now, they were elderly at this point, because in the 80s when she was relaying this story, I think she was in her 80s at that point, but so it was early 50s. So she was already in her 50s because they was raising their grandchildren. And she said that she was afraid for the family. And she said when her husband came outside, that was my great uncle, my great grandfather's brother. She said he stepped off the porch, and she said, look, I done killed something. It's not human. So they walked out there to the side of the barn, and she said they had killed, she said she called it the frog man. But I know it to be a reptilian. And at that point, when she was relating that story to me, I had never heard anything like that before. And she kept saying, as God is my witness, I swear for God, I'm not telling a lie. This is the honest God's truth. And she wasn't known in the community anyway to be someone who lied. She always was an honest and upright woman. And so she said her and her husband, my great uncle, she said they buried that thing, because we asked, well, where was it? She said they buried it right down there where they killed it, near the barn. And so after they buried it, then the animals got quiet again. And of course, I'm going to deviate for a minute. You know that they always tell you to watch nature, and that's what we have to do. Right. Like when the tsunami hit in Indonesia in 2004, they reported that days before it hit, that the dogs and cats and all the animals had gone up into the mountains because they are in tune with the Creator. So they know to flee in instances like that. Well, her animals, they were trying to give off a warning signal. And so they knew something bad was there. But so anyway, they killed it and they buried it. He told her not to tell anybody that story. So she said she didn't tell anybody. So she said about a month later, a little bit less than a month, she said it was nighttime again, and they were in their bed. And she said this time, this blue light came over the whole house, and they lived in what you call one of those little bitty shacks long time ago.
In the countryside.
In the countryside, way in the country. They had like several hundred acres of land. That land is still in my family today. And so she said this time her husband got up with her, and the animals went crazy again. So she said they went out there with both of their shotguns, went to the porch, and they saw what they called a UFO, a flying saucer.
Now, was it in the air or was it on the ground?
It had landed on the ground beside the pond.
Okay.
So she said it was on the ground, and she said it opened up, and she said, oh, they coming to kill us because we done killed this thing. She said they came off the ship, and she said they went straight to the mound where they had buried this thing, and they put their hand over the ground, and this dead frogman thing that she killed, it just came up out of the ground. It wasn't alive. It was flat and it was dead. But they took that thing and they put it on the ship. Then she said they went over to the pond and they raised up their hands, and a spaceship came out of their pond. Now their pond was bigger than a regular sized pond. It was almost the size of a small lake. But she said it had flown. That's how he had, I guess, got there. It had flown into the bottom of the lake. And if any of you all keep up with some of the stories that other countries recount about the UFOs, they'll tell you that some people, especially over in China and the Asian areas, spot them with their spaceships coming up out of the deep water. So they got the spaceship out of the water, and she said, and they looked at them, didn't do anything, didn't say anything, didn't come toward them, got back on the ship and zoomed back into the sky. And she said for the longest she didn't tell anybody. She said, but she told a couple people later on that said she was crazy. So she was just telling my mom and I that to let us know that that's why she always kept her double-barrel shotgun right next to her. Even she said, when I go to the chicken coop, anywhere, I always, because I don't know if they ever going to come back. And that's what she said.
Thank you. Thank you for that. So here you having it. A real life testimony of an Israelite sister whose family member have come in contact with what we know today as a reptilian and killed it in the 50s, buried it. They came back and got the body and the UFO and left. And this is in the 50s, not too far right after the Roswell incident.